Hello. So, my name is Brynhilda Underwood. So, yeah, I'm making this second vlog due to not being able to stream like I was intending to, because weather is big dumb and makes my stream lag. Um, my viewers wanted me to make a vlog talking about my other server, TRAN, and how I handle the stress from it because it is a rather large server. So I figured I'd start out by talking about what is TRAN, why did I make it, what all do I do on it, and how do I handle the stress that comes with it. So TRAN, or the Trans Radical Antifa Nation, uh, it originally started as kind of my fan server because, like, whenever I started transition, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna be this badass trans girl YouTuber and it's gonna be awesome and great. But then it quickly became something else, but it was something good, so I decided to encourage it. Um, I started Tran whenever I was incredibly dysphoric because whenever I feel bad, I try to reach out and help other people because whenever I help other people, I often find that it ends up helping me to help myself, right? So, yeah, I decided, you know what? Since I'm going to be this badass YouTuber, why don't I create a cool, safe space for all of my viewers to hang out? And if they have other people that they're friends with, that are queer or queer allies, they can join the server too, and I can just make it a place where even if they're not viewers of mine, they can still just hang out, right? So I really did create the server to be kind of a social space, and the whole name of it was more directed at me rather than the people that were going to be joining it, because I'm trans. I'm considered radical by some just because I'm a basic leftist, even though like that's not even radical compared to most actual radicals. Uh, I am very much Antifa. So, yeah. And then it's the nation. It's the people that are in the server are the nation part. Fun times. Um, the server, as I have it now and what I intend it to be now that it's become its own thing, separate from my streaming and YouTubing and all other content creation, which I now have another server for all that called Brynhalla, a play on my username and everything, Bryn the Valk, and my name Brynhildr, which is taken after a Valkyrie. Um, so yeah, what I am planning for Tran now is I want it to be a safe space for any queer people to come and hang out, and I want it to be a place where people can explore, discover, flesh out, and all around just kind of create themselves, you know? Figure out your gender identity, your sexuality, decide what kind of person you want to be, you know, the kind of future you want to lead, decide who you're gonna become, you know? I want it to be a safe space for people to just explore themselves and for it to be okay for them to explore and not be judged. You know, you can come into Tran questioning your gender, end up deciding that you're perfectly okay with your AGAB and that you just want to be, you know, slightly more masculine or feminine or androgynous or whatever else. And that's fine. It doesn't mean that anything that you went through is any less valid. I'm just happy that you felt comfortable and safe discovering who you are in my community. So, yeah. And I do try and especially focus on the kids of the server. I have a kitten in my room right now who is playing under my bed, so I'm sorry for whatever noises he causes. Um, for the kids of the server, I try and have a lot of extra stuff for them to do. Like, we have a weekly movie night on the server where we watch stuff like Gravity Falls or some other show or movie that the kids vote on. Um, in addition to that, we have meme competitions. We have a weekly group call for anyone who wants to join, stuff like that. Uh, I try to have a lot for people to do. So if you're a furry, there's a spot for you. You like programming, we got a spot for you. You know, we try and have a spot for everyone to find their niche. Now, with that, though, does come a lot of pressure because I am doing a lot of stuff in the background. On top of my content creation, I actually am constantly on the server trying to help people in the vent chats, trying to help my mods, trying to help kids. There's actually several kids on the server that I check in with daily to make sure that they've eaten, drank, make sure that they're safe, make sure that they've gotten to school or gotten whatever else they need done. I help people with homework a surprising amount, you know, just stuff like that. And I love it. I wouldn't trade it for the world, but it is a lot of pressure. I'm thankful that I have some amazing mods that help me take a lot of pressure off. I have several leaders in the server that greatly help with the community. I have several bots set up that help me with a lot of moderation. And in addition to that, I have very clear and defined rules and guidelines on how to handle things. So, yeah, the basic way I have my server set up is there's one link out there that you can use that will bring you to my server that never expires and has an infinite amount of invites. And that's the only one like that. Other than that, the only way to get into the server is either for one of the leaders to invite you, for a mod to invite you, or for me to invite you. So that helps keep us from being brigaded and everything. Um, the leaders in my server are one of the key reasons why my server doesn't need a lot of moderation. Sorry, my cat is being weird down here. Um, and then I got one sleeping in the background. This one's Michael, my big flat fluffy boy. Um, so the leaders in my server, they are people that I personally pick out. The only way to become a leader is for me to decide your leader material, in which case I'll extend you the offer of being a leader, or for you to ask to become a leader, or for other leaders to put your name forward for consideration. And then I will take into consideration everything you've done, how long you've been in the server, how, you know, everything, right? So basically, if I make someone a leader, that means that they are a member of the community that knows the rules, follows them, isn't a problematic person, isn't someone I have to get onto, constantly worry and fret over, stuff like that. And on top of that, this is a person that I know will be a good example of the server. This is a person where if someone picked them randomly from the server to see what TRAN was all about, would represent us well, you know. It's a person that's mature, responsible, respectable, and respectful of others. Uh, so yeah, and the leaders, there is no age requirement to be a leader. But I try to have an incredibly diverse set of leaders, you know? So, since there are leaders with all kinds of backgrounds participating in every chat, sorry about that, that means that my mods and I don't have to go through and read the several hundred messages that come through the server every couple hours. Because that is daunting and not exactly feasible with the sheer volume of traffic the server actually gets. Because the thing about the server is there are a lot of hidden channels that you only get by having specific roles. So, yeah. Like, for instance, the leaders have an entire area to themselves with their own area for general chat, memes and humor, general media, their own voice chat, you know, all kinds of stuff. They have their entire own little section of the server. Same for the mods. So yeah. So, since I have all these eyes in different spots, the leaders also have a direct link to the mods in that there's a channel that only the leaders and mods can see that they can put any concerns in. So they can be like, hey, I've noticed this about this user and this concerns me. Or, hey, there's a person in Vent Chat 3 who's suicidal. stuff like that. And they can ping the moderators or I directly. And of course, anyone in the server can ping a mod or ping me directly without getting in any trouble. But with the leaders, it's a lot more, yeah, it has more weight to it. And they actually have a direct channel to log things for us moderators to look at, right? So they're kind of like our eyes throughout the server, and they help take a lot of pressure and weight off of us. They're not in charge of passing out any judgments. You know, we don't put any weight or pressure on them for any of that. They're not required to do any of it. It's purely those who want to do it can, and that's it. Some leaders are incredibly persistent about it, constantly trying to help people, constantly trying to reach out, constantly pinging the mods, being like, hey, this person needs help with this issue in this channel. Hey, this person over here needs this and that. And that's great. I love it. They take a lot of pressure off of us. But some leaders, they just chill out. They hang out, they don't do any of that, and that's perfectly fine. I like that they can just be chill. So, yeah. And then above them, I do have the moderators. And my moderators have a rule set that they have to abide by. Any member of my server can complain about any mod without any repercussion, even if it's a completely baseless claim. I have a channel specifically for logging evidence, quote unquote. So basically, if we see something that we have to handle, something we need to keep an eye out, messages or anything like that, we log it into the mod evidence channel. In addition to this, we have our own little area to chat and discuss things, area for us to use bots, all that other good stuff. I have my architects, which are mods that I've given permission and the ability to make changes to the server. So they're able to edit permissions, create channels, all that other stuff that I can do also, which takes a lot of pressure off me because now if there's some kind of bug or error with one of the channels or, role interaction being weird or wonky, they can fix it and they can log it in the architect table. Or if there's changes that we need to make to the server, we have this whole channel dedicated to changes we intend on making in the future, and we just slowly get to it. So all of that takes a lot of weight off my shoulders because I used to do all of that on my own. And over time, I've just steadily created the system to help me not have to do all that, which lets me focus on other things. So what I personally do, aside from reaching out to specific members of the server on a daily basis, is I handle some things on the back end. Like, I am constantly paying attention to various groups like TERFs, gender criticals, and alt-rights, anti-trans, all these other groups that could cause us harm. I'm just going to let him do it. All these other groups that could cause us harm, I try and pay attention to them. That way I can stay ahead of the curve. I thought he was about to fall off the desk. Any harmful rhetoric that could hurt the server, anything that could be brought in to use to attack us, anything I try and keep an eye on. That way I can preemptively try and keep it out of the server. In addition to that, I try to make sure that I keep an eye out on who's being invited and from where, right? So that's one of the reasons that the only way to get in is through an invite from a leader or a mod. That way, everyone in the server can be tracked back to someone else. So if we do get brigade... You good? Good job, Skull. Proud of you. So that's one of the reasons it has been difficult to brigade and attack us. We have had a few raids happen on the server, but they were all able to be put to a very quick and swift end. I just realized I said quick and swift, even though those are the same thing. I'm blonde, that's why I dye my hair all the time. So yeah. In addition to that, and trying to get the bots to actually work correctly and trying to make sure all of the roles and everything work right. I'll also go through and make small changes to the server whenever fewer people are online in order to make sure that it's a better experience for everyone. If I've noticed an issue, I'm constantly trying to find new resources because I have an entire tab dedicated towards things like suicide prevention, reporting abusive people, how to get out of an abusive home or relationship, queer helplines. I have as many resources as I can find to help with all kinds of different issues. And I'm constantly keeping an eye out for more things that can help, especially for places outside of the US and the UK, because that seems to be where most of our members are from. And I want to be able to help everyone, not just people from these two areas. Um, in addition to that, the mods and I do have a lot of pressure through some of the things that we handle on the server. Example, one of our biggest stressors is that since our server attracts a lot of transgender youths and young adults, specifically those around the ages of about 15 to 20, we do have a lot of people on the server that do self harm, that are suicidal, that do suffer with depression and anxiety. And it's terrible, right? And so we try to get these people help, especially because I know what that's like. I have a history of eating disorders. I have my own history of depression and self harm. I have a history of alcoholism, trying to get through my mental health because it took me a long time to come to accept myself as trans and to start transition. And wouldn't you know it, that's all it took to flip a whole bunch of stuff on its head and get me out of a really dark place. And I want these kids to be able to not have to go through that. I want them to skip the pitfalls I fell into. I want them to skip a lot of the harmful stuff I did to find acceptance and love. I just want them to be safe. So my mods and I have a very strict rule set of how we handle things. So if we have a member of the server that's suicidal, we have a whole procedure. We have a form that we fill out that informs the Discord staff of that user. That way, Discord can try and get into touch with them. We have a form to fill out if we know what country that person's from. That way, we can try and get that person help through like police intervention, government intervention, stuff like that. We have all kinds of little resources that talks about how to talk people out of suicide, how to talk people down, how to get people to stop self-harming. Oh, stuff like that. But we're not a crisis center, right? And my mods are all volunteer. Being a mod, you volunteer to do it and you can back out at any time for any reason. I do not and will not ever force my mods to remain mods, period. And so it stresses them out a lot. So we have to compartmentalize a lot of that stuff. And there are times where my mods get very involved. Example, there is a mod of mine that has had to talk to an abused child on the server that was undergoing some pretty significant abuse. And that child was unable, due to various things, to get a hold of CPS and whatnot and to get themselves to safety. And so my mod worked with them and has some of their personal information that they use to help get in contact with CPS. That way they could try and get help to this abused child. And one of my things with my mods is that kind of information has to stay compartmentalized. So only that mod knows that information about that child. None of my other mods get to know that. If we have to call the cops, if we have to get CPS, anything for that child, that mod does that. And then if something happens, it gets to be traced back to me, obviously. And that way, if one of my mods does become an idiot or do something stupid, that lets me lessen the amount of harm they can do, right? And for my mods, one of the other requirements is I have to have a ton of respect for them. I have to know them on a much more personal level. So each of my mods are hand selected. And usually, before I'll even appoint a new mod, I will either ask my mods for suggestions or I'll reach out directly to a specific person saying, hey, you're over 18. I would like to extend this offer to you to become one of my mods. Here's everything it would entail. Here's the list of how we handle things. Totally up to you. No one knows I'm giving you this offer, right? So, yeah. Now, with all this other stuff that I do on top of my content creation, on top of my day job, on top of trying to be an adult and take care of, adult stuff, I don't get a lot of time in the day to relax and be myself. And on top of that, I do have a depression disorder and an anxiety disorder. And I have started to have like panic attacks recently that I've been trying to get under control. My way of handling these things is one, I make sure to have a support system. I spiral sometimes. And whenever I start to do that, I reach out to the other adults on the server. I reach out to my girlfriend. I reach out to my other partner. I reach out to the mods. I let them know what's going on, what I need, and I take some time to back off and to try and relax. And my main way of relaxing is through playing things like World of Warcraft, the various RPGs I like. And I know World of Warcraft is definitely World of Warcraft. I get it. It's just my guilty pleasure. Um, that's what I tend to do in my free time to try and kind of relax and cool down from everything. In addition to that, whenever I am extremely depressed or anxious, I try and make sure to reach out. Because if I spiral, if something happens to me, I can't help people. And that sucks. So yeah. And in addition to that, I need to be an example for these kids. So I can't expect these kids, if they are suffering, to reach out and get help unless I'm willing to make sure that they see me and other adults doing that and setting a good example for them, which is one of the reasons why my server will not sit there and let people spiral. We don't let people hate on themselves and push themselves down further and mentally self harm. We don't do that. My server is very much a server of encouragement, a server of growth, a server of nurturing. And if you're not going to try and progress, try and grow, we can't let you stay, you know? And we won't just kick people out, Like, we always have a system of, like, okay, let's let them know the problems directly. Like, hey, this is what we're having troubles with. You keep spiraling. It's hurting yourself and others. It's a form of mental self harm. We can't allow that. It's causing so much stress, so much, frustration with everyone, and it's causing everyone else to develop anxiety, depression, etc. You have to change it. We cannot let that happen because it's hurting other people, period. And so we'll try and set up a system of ultimatums like, okay, here's what you got to do, you know, like, oh, you are in a position where you can get therapy. You're an adult. So if you don't get therapy and you keep spiraling and stuff like that, we're going to have to kick you from the server. Or, oh, whenever you start spiraling, we realize you're in a super abusive situation and everything. So when you start spiraling, here's the steps you're going to take. You're going to practice breathing exercises with someone that you reach out to. You're going to do this and this, which will help you prevent the spiral. You're going to follow these anxiety help techniques. You're going to do this stuff in order to try and help yourself. And we're going to slowly work through this list to try and find something that works. And if we can't find something, we're going to try and help you find something that works. And so long as they make an honest effort, we're not going to remove them from the server. But there has been times when we have had to remove people from the server. As it is, there have been 5 people I've had to kick from the server for those reasons, basically. Thankfully, 4 out of the 5 have returned after changing and getting the help they need or learning the techniques they needed and stuff like that. And as for that one last person, they turned to the alt-right. So, oh well. But yeah, that is probably my biggest stressor, and the thing that makes me the single most depressed is that I know I cannot help everyone. And so I do sometimes have to prioritize the health of the server at large over one person, and I hate that. It always makes me depressed. I cry a lot. So yeah, in addition to that, another way I try and de-stress is I actually pamper myself significantly. I burn a lot of incense, even though I can't smell. I drink a lot of tea. I like to take baths, eat ice cream, stuff like that. Even though, I'm also trying to lose weight. I'm down to 190 from 320 whenever I started transition, so I'm doing pretty fucking good. Um, yeah, that's the server. That's how it's ran. That's how I take care of a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff I actually left out because I figure it's too boring, things on the more technical end, me partnering with other servers, a whole bunch of other stuff, right? But yeah, that's the basic gist of it. I hope you enjoyed this vlog. I'll probably make some more in the future talking about all kinds of other weird things and yeah. Okay. I love you all. I hope you have a wonderful night and be safe. Hey Calvin, yeah.